Ever notice how the more real you are, the more people pull back? How your silence makes them uneasy and your clarity gets mistaken for arrogance? It's not because you're cruel. It's not because you're broken. It's because you can't be controlled. In a world that rewards performance, the intelligent man refuses to perform. He doesn't flatter just to be liked. He doesn't chase illusions disguised as love. And he doesn't apologize for seeing through the games everyone else is still playing. That's why people fear him. Not because he's aggressive, but because he's free. And freedom is terrifying to those still trapped in roles, illusions, and noise. So today, let's break down why intelligent men are misunderstood, rejected, and feared, and why that's not a curse but the ultimate sign of awakening. There is a strange paradox about intelligence that few people talk about. The deeper you go, the lonelier it feels. Intelligent men often discover that their greatest strength, clarity of thought, depth of perception, and refusal to accept illusions, also becomes the very thing that pushes others away. Depth creates distance. Most people move through life craving predictability. Predictable conversations, predictable roles, predictable love. Predictability feels safe, even if it's shallow. The intelligent man, however, refuses this script. His questions disrupt the comfort of assumptions. His silence unsettles those who are used to constant performance and flattery. His clarity strips away the illusions people build to protect themselves. And that is exactly why others grow uneasy around him. Not because he is unkind, but because his very presence forces them to confront truths they'd rather avoid. To some, that feels like a threat. An intelligent man's silence is not emptiness, it's presence. When he withholds unnecessary words, he creates a space where people suddenly feel the weight of their own masks. In relationships especially, this silence can be mistaken for distance or coldness. But in reality, it is discernment. He is not absent, he is observing, he is not uninterested, he is unwilling to perform just to be liked. For people who live on the surface level validation, this silence feels unbearable, and so they pull back. Clarity is one of the most unsettling forces in human interaction. When a man sees through illusions, whether it's flattery that isn't real, relationships built on convenience, or the hypocrisy in social norms, his vision disturbs those invested in the lie. Clarity doesn't flatter, it reveals. And revelation often feels like rejection. Women in particular may withdraw from intelligent men, not because they dislike them, but because they cannot control them. A man who doesn't need validation, who won't chase illusions, who refuses to be manipulated by attention, that man is not safe to the games most people unconsciously play. The truth is simple. Depth forces others to confront their own shallowness. Most people are not searching for truth. They're searching for comfort. They want emotional reinforcement, not revelation. They want attention, not observation. And when faced with a man who seeks meaning instead of mass, they feel exposed. Thus, the deeper a man becomes, the more distance he feels. Not because he is broken, but because he is whole. His refusal to dilute his essence creates a natural separation from those who still cling to performance. But this distance is not a punishment, it is a gift. The intelligent man learns that solitude is the price of clarity, and though this solitude may feel heavy, it is also where strength is forged. Depth filters out the superficial. It may leave him surrounded by fewer people, but the connections that remain will be real, unshakable, and rare. Because depth does not attract the many, it attracts the few who are also willing to see, to think, to live without illusions. Depth creates distance because most people fear what they cannot control, predict, or label. The intelligent man's silence, questions, and clarity are unsettling not because they are flaws, but because they pierce through the games society thrives on. And though this path may feel lonely, it is also the only path to authenticity, wholeness, and freedom. The deeper you go, the fewer people you'll find beside you. But the ones who remain, that's where truth begins. When society talks about dangerous men, it usually imagines the aggressive, the violent, the tyrannical. But intelligent men are feared for an entirely different reason. Their danger does not lie in their fists, but in their independence. They cannot be controlled, not through validation, not through flattery, not even through manipulation. The intelligent man does not play the usual game of seeking approval. He isn't desperate to be liked. And this unnerves people who are used to influence through praise or guilt. He doesn't chase recognition to feel worthy, and he doesn't bend his truth just to belong. His unpredictability lies not in chaos, but in sovereignty. You can't predict him because he isn't reacting to you. He is choosing for himself. And in a world where predictability is mistaken for safety, this kind of independence is terrifying. Nowhere is this more obvious than in modern relationships. Most relationships today are built not on truth, but on comfort. People don't search for partners to grow with. They search for partners who can soothe their insecurities, validate their illusions, or play out the roles society has assigned. Love in this modern sense has become transactional. Affection is exchanged for attention. Commitment is bartered for convenience. Desire is often rooted in usefulness, not authenticity. But the intelligent man disrupts this economy of illusions. He doesn't confuse dependency with love or flattery with intimacy. He refuses to play roles that strip him of authenticity, provider, performer, protector, puppet, if those roles come at the cost of truth. Instead, he seeks revelation. For him, love is not a stage where two people perform for each other. It is a mirror where illusions are stripped away. It is a place where the masks fall off, where the soul is seen in its raw, unfiltered essence. That kind of love is rare, and because it is rare, it is often rejected before it is embraced. This is why intelligent men are feared. Their presence dismantles illusions. Their clarity threatens the performance. Their refusal to settle for transactional comfort exposes the fragility of what many call love. And people who have built their entire identity around roles, games, and attention find that unbearable. It is easier to label the intelligent man as arrogant, cold, or difficult than it is to face the truth he represents. It is easier to withdraw from him than to rise to meet his depth, because depth requires reflection, and reflection requires change. And most would rather remain comfortably asleep than wake up to themselves. The intelligent man is feared not because he wants control, but because he cannot be controlled. He unsettles others not through aggression, but through authenticity. And in a world where relationships are often built on illusion, his search for truth makes him a rebel. He does not chase comfort, he chases clarity. He does not perform for applause, he seeks revelation. And that search, misunderstood as coldness or arrogance, is in fact the purest form of love. The danger of the intelligent man is simple. He shows people what they are really standing on. And most discover it is not love, not truth, but sand. Kierkegaard once wrote, "The crowd is untruth." What he meant was that truth is never found in mass opinion or conformity. The crowd always demands predictability, sameness, and roles. It tells you who to be, how to act, and what to value. And yet, by following the crowd, you slowly lose yourself. The intelligent man understands this. He refuses to be swallowed by societal roles that demand performance over presence. He resists being defined by labels: provider, entertainer, puppet, or people pleaser. His rebellion is not loud, it's inward. Simply by choosing to remain himself, he exposes the illusions that the crowd calls truth. Kierkegaard described despair not as sadness, but as estrangement from one's true self. It is the sickness unto death, the slow, invisible decay of a man who abandons who he really is in order to become what others want. Most men live in this despair without even noticing. They laugh at what doesn't amuse them, agree with what they don't believe, love for convenience instead of truth. They survive by wearing masks until one day they no longer know what lies beneath. But the intelligent man cannot live comfortably in this despair. His clarity won't allow it. He feels the dissonance too strongly, the tension between who he is and who he is told to be. This discomfort drives him inward, often into solitude, where he begins the painful journey of becoming whole again. For Kierkegaard, the solution was not compliance with the crowd, but what he called the leap of faith. To leap is to reject the security of roles, applause, and illusions, and instead choose authenticity, even if it costs everything. This leap is terrifying because it strips away the structures society uses to make us feel safe. The intelligent man who takes it walks alone. He may lose relationships, opportunities, and acceptance, but in losing the false, he gains the real. His selfhood, his sovereignty, his alignment with truth. The leap is not about recklessness, it is about trust. Trusting that a life rooted in authenticity, no matter how difficult, is better than a life comfortably lived in despair. When an intelligent man refuses to play roles, when he walks away from transactional love, when he chooses solitude over assimilation, he is living Kierkegaard's philosophy. He becomes what Kierkegaard called the single individual, a man who lives inwardly before he lives outwardly, whose worth is not measured by applause, but by alignment with truth. And this is precisely why he unsettles the world, because his existence is a mirror of what others could be, but are too afraid to become. Kierkegaard warned us that the greatest danger is not losing wealth, status, or relationships, but losing oneself quietly in the noise of the crowd. Despair is the man who abandons himself for acceptance. Authenticity is the man who risks rejection for truth. The intelligent man is feared because he embodies this leap of faith. He rejects illusions, resists assimilation, and chooses selfhood over performance. And though the path is lonely, it is also the only one that leads to freedom. Because in the end, the crowd is untruth. But the self, the real, undiluted self, is everything. Awakening always comes with a price. For intelligent men, the awakening is not about accumulating knowledge, but about seeing through the illusions that govern modern life. Illusions of success, love, and identity. Once a man begins to see clearly, he can no longer go back to playing roles that once made him acceptable. But clarity isolates. The intelligent man quickly finds that the very traits that make him valuable, his ability to question, to see through masks, to refuse shallow games, also make him misunderstood. Friends may drift away, mistaking his silence for arrogance. Lovers may withdraw, mistaking his discernment for disinterest. Society at large may brand him difficult, simply because he refuses to conform. This solitude, however, is not failure. It is the cost of selfhood. Freedom is never free. It demands the sacrifice of belonging to the crowd. The intelligent man pays with popularity, with predictability, with applause. And yet what he gains is far greater: alignment with his own truth. When it comes to relationships, the intelligent man faces a different kind of resistance. Women do not fear his intelligence itself. They fear what they cannot contain. Most men are easily managed through attention, flattery, or the promise of affection. But the intelligent man is different. He does not chase validation. He does not collapse into flattery. He does not perform for approval. Instead, he discerns. He chooses when to speak, when to act, and when to walk away. His presence is measured, not desperate. His attention is selective, not automatic. To a woman addicted to emotional games, push and pull, drama, and performance, this restraint feels threatening. His refusal to be manipulated can be read as coldness. His silence feels like rejection. His steadiness feels like distance. But in truth, this is not distance, it is depth. The intelligent man is not absent. He is simply not performing. And for many, that is uncomfortable because it forces them to confront the illusions they rely on. Here lies the paradox. Intelligent men long for connection, but their very clarity makes connection more difficult. They are not unavailable, as the world might accuse them. They are simply unwilling to dilute their essence for shallow approval. They prefer solitude to counterfeit intimacy. They would rather be alone than love for a mask. This paradox explains both their isolation and their quiet strength. They are feared, avoided, or misunderstood, not because they lack love, but because they refuse to settle for illusions that pretend to be love. The cost of awakening is solitude. The price of freedom is rejection. And yet, for the intelligent man, this is not a tragedy. It is proof that he has chosen authenticity over assimilation. Women withdraw not because he is unworthy, but because he cannot be contained. He does not bow to flattery, nor lose himself in games. He is not chasing attention. He is guarding truth. And though this path narrows his relationships, it also purifies them. What remains is rare, but real. What remains is not performance, but presence. And that, in a world addicted to illusions, is worth every loss. In a world obsessed with appearances, intelligent men choose essence. They refuse to dilute who they are just to be accepted. While most people are trained from childhood to perform, smile when it's fake, agree when it's convenient, flatter when it's strategic, the intelligent man resists this script. For him, acceptance that comes at the cost of authenticity is not acceptance. It is assimilation. And assimilation feels like death. He values presence over performance because presence cannot be faked. He values alignment over chaos because chaos disguised as passion only leads to confusion. He values truth over illusions, even when truth is uncomfortable, even when it costs him relationships. This refusal to perform is precisely what makes him powerful and precisely what makes him feared. Because when he walks into a room, he isn't trying to fit in. He isn't chasing applause or bending his truth to be palatable. He is whole, and wholeness is rare in a culture built on fragments. But there is a price to this wholeness. Intelligent men often find themselves misunderstood, not because they are cold, but because they are clear. Their presence acts as a mirror. When they interact with others, their clarity reflects back the illusions people carry, the pretenses, the insecurities, the games. Suddenly, these are harder to ignore in the presence of someone who refuses to play along. And being seen at this level is unbearable for those who would rather hide behind masks. So instead of facing themselves, they project. They call him cold when he is simply composed. They call him distant when he is simply discerning. They call him arrogant when he is simply self-respecting. These labels are not truth. They are defense mechanisms. They are the crowd's way of reducing the discomfort of being seen without illusion. The irony is that the intelligent man doesn't set out to expose anyone. He simply lives aligned with truth, and in doing so, he becomes a silent judgment on everything false around him. His clarity forces others to confront what they've been running from. And rather than change, most would rather reject the mirror. Wholeness over performance means choosing authenticity even when it isolates you. It means refusing to dilute yourself for applause. And while this wholeness makes the intelligent man free, it also makes him threatening. Because his presence is not entertainment, it is revelation. He is a mirror in a world that prefers illusions. And when people look into that mirror, they don't always like what they see. So they call him cold. They call him distant. They call him arrogant. But in truth, he is none of these things. He is simply whole. And wholeness, in a culture built on performance, is the most dangerous thing a man can be. The most dangerous man is not the one who dominates others, but the one who no longer needs their approval. The moment a man detaches his sense of worth from applause, attention, or validation, he becomes unconditioned. And when he is unconditioned, he cannot be controlled. This is what makes intelligent men feared. They are not bound by society's systems of manipulation. Compliments don't blind them, rejection doesn't break them, and loneliness doesn't enslave them. Their freedom is internal, and that is a kind of power no one can confiscate. Both society and modern romance are built on subtle forms of control. Society tells men that success means conformity, earning status, wealth, and attention by fitting into predictable roles. Relationships, too, often rely on emotional games. Perform to be loved, flatter to be chosen, chase to feel masculine. The intelligent man sees through these scripts and refuses to play them. He does not reduce himself to a role. He does not treat love as a transaction. He does not exchange his authenticity for approval, and this refusal makes him dangerous, not because he is violent, but because he is untouchable. He cannot be seduced by flattery or broken by rejection. He cannot be manipulated by fear of loneliness or hunger for recognition. And when a man cannot be manipulated, he becomes a threat to every system built on compliance. But this freedom does not come cheap. Solitude, clarity, and integrity all demand sacrifice. The intelligent man loses comfort because his questions disrupt the illusions others cling to. He loses validation because he refuses to play roles designed to earn applause. He may even lose love because his presence demands truth instead of performance. Yet none of this is failure. It is the price of sovereignty. To lose shallow comforts is to gain peace. To lose validation is to gain sanity. To lose transactional love is to gain authenticity. This is the paradox. The man who loses everything society offers often gains everything society cannot give: freedom, clarity, and wholeness. The intelligent man is not cold, arrogant, or broken, as the world may accuse him. He is whole, and wholeness in a fragmented culture is terrifying. It exposes the artificiality of the mask people wear. It threatens the economy of illusions that keeps society functioning. A whole man does not need to beg, flatter, or chase. He chooses deliberately. He walks in silence without needing attention. He loves without dependency. And this quiet sovereignty unsettles everyone who has built their identity on being liked, wanted, or applauded. Men, if you felt this in your soul, you're not alone. Drop a comment, share your thoughts, and join the community of men who refuse to be controlled. Hit subscribe, and let's keep building this brotherhood of clarity, presence, and strength.